Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It's another Monday. It's raining outside. Well, actually just stopped raining outside. So if for some reason at some point I just go away,
please send some our way.
It may be due to the thunderstorm. Are you guys struggling for some rain?
The struggle is real. The lake is now as low as it's been since they started filling it up in the 30s.
Really? Because it seems like every year I hear that. Is every year just getting lower?
Yeah, every year it got lower, and now it's at that tipping point, and they're probably going to start raising the alarm bells here in southern Nevada. What is interesting is we have saved so much water with our conservation efforts. We got like 8 years worth of water in the bank, so to speak. And we only use 2% of the water out of that lake. Guess where most of it goes?
Los Angeles.
Yep. I think it's time for them to start building some desalination plants and getting the F off the lake myself.
But they don't have the money. They're spending like $30 billion a year on the homeless problem that they can't seem to even get a 1.0% grip on. I don't know what in the holy hell.
And they're chasing all their the people out of state like locusts. They've decimated the crops that is California, and now they've moved on to Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Montana, Texas, and places.
You know, their politicians are so out of touch there, like especially the mayor of LA. He is so out of touch, or just refuses, or obvious. Well, I guess out of touch is a little mean, because clearly he can't show the fact that he knows that people hate him. But I bring it up because his office is sending out letters to registered Democrats asking them to donate $3 to help pay for advertising revenue and efforts to stem the Republican recall, even though he fails to realize that 63% of the Democrats in LA want him gone too.
And what's also amazing is him and Mayor Garcetti, and then the mayor of Austin. I've heard them all say that the housing crisis is due to the cost of housing, and that it's not actually drugs and alcohol.
Bullshit.
And you and I both know that if you interview, so all this stuff is self-reported, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you interview people on the street, what are they going to blame it on? They're going to blame it on the blood, drugs, and alcohol, or are they just going to, run the victim card and say, I just can't afford a home? How much of that is actual true? So they say this, but what is the truth of the matter? How many of these people actually have drug and alcohol addictions and or psychosis issues?
Most of them.
Unfortunately, a lot of them are vets, which sucks. But
well, and that does suck. But a lot of them being vets is a small population too. Expand on that. I'm trying to pull up a documentary that'll help answer the question. But yeah, the homeless.
Yeah, I was listening to Joe Rogan show. They had the mayor of Austin on. He was talking about it, and I'm just like, have you met homeless people?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them don't look like they could rub two brain cells together, unfortunately. And now the question is, how many of these people is it a victim of circumstance and how they were raised and that kind of situation? How much of it is due to their own stupidity, and then how much of it is actual housing? Because I think there's been several studies that show that it is not the housing crisis, because you usually end up consolidating homes, so to speak. And that's what we're expecting to see a lot of out of this pandemic, right? Multiple generations moving together, extended family moving in together.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we're just seeing an influx of Californians.
If you want an example of why it's important not to let your own ego, your own thoughts, your own lack of desire to hear someone saying something or maybe talking about something that you instinctively think that you're not going to agree with, so why you waste your time? Here's a perfect reason not to do that. Like 2005 or 2006, remember the band The Fugees? Yes. Ready or not, here it comes, you may hide. We all know Lauryn Hill. And those of you from the Eminem listeners know his little quote by Lauryn Hill tapes where kids can starve. Well, Don, that never made sense to me. Well, see, back in the day, there was an interview with Lauryn Hill When they asked her how she felt about her success of the Fugees, she said, well, to be honest with you, I never anticipated so many white kids listening to my stuff. And the quote, now I'm just paraphrasing after 18 years, but the quote was something along the lines is, I would rather not sell an album and have my kids starve than a bunch of white kids listening to my album. Hence, Eminem's lyric, buy another Lauryn Hill tape so our kids can starve.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a racist statement.
Well, it was back then, it is now. But anyhow, the reason I bring it up, there was another member of that band called Pras Michael. Now, I was flipping through Netflix a few years back.
Sorry, interruption. First game, round 3 against Canadians, we've just scored. So
I didn't
I'm
know
not
it was
watching the
football
goddamn
season.
Stanley Cup playoff for you guys.
Oh, there you go. Anyhow, Pras Michael, who was another member of that band, in like 2005, 2006, he put out a documentary called Skid Row. And the whole premise was as a famous person, as someone who came over here from overseas and who experienced being poor and now is a millionaire, he wanted to get an idea of the question you just asked. What is it about the people? I'm sorry, we can't say homeless anymore now. I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh, no, fuck it. They're homeless.
The new,
I don't care.
the new woke word terminology is people experiencing homelessness.
The unhoused.
They're bums. Anyhow, he wanted to figure out, like you were just talking about, well, what exactly makes people homeless or puts them in that situation? Is it, in fact, oh, I lost my job, can't afford my rent? Is it, somebody's mentally ill, or is it drug addiction, or all three? And he just wanted to get an uncensored, unbiased view. And much like you're talking about the, not the mayor of Austin, but there was another interview where, there was a mayor of a smaller city out in where is shit. Anyhow,
Use your words.
I'm trying to Portland, outside of Portland, a small town in Oregon. The mayor didn't tell anybody. He just put in a week's worth of vacation and vanished, and he went undercover as a homeless person for a week to answer the same question. But I bring this one up first. So Praz will say, hey, well, let's get on a Skid Row. I'm going to disguise myself. I got to hide my camera because people don't trust people with cameras, especially back in 2005. Not everybody had iPhones on them. It was still relatively new for everybody and their grandmothers have cameras. And high-quality film-grade digital cameras weren't as small as they are now. Even the small ones aren't that smart.
Quite costly.
They're costly and cumbersome back then. And so he went down to Skid Row. And to go back to how I set this up with reason why you shouldn't allow yourself not to watch something or listen to somebody because you perceive they may have a different opinion than you. I saw this. I saw who was in it. And rightfully so, I was like, okay, here we go. It's going to be a long list of how the system failed these people. Right? Because, well, that's what you just anticipate. So he goes down there. He's undercover. You're watching this documentary. And long story short, he found out back in 2005 anyhow.
Let me guess. There were a lot of just fucked up people?
You did have your mentally ill. You had a small percentage of families who the dad and mom lost their jobs, whatever. You had a larger amount of single moms who got divorced and, never really had a job because they always took care of the kids, and now they're trying to figure out their own way.
And you got to remember, homeless also, they count people who serve couches and stay with relatives.
Well, and that's a good point. Remind me here in a minute because I had another question about that. But kind of me too. Well, that was going to be my question. What he discovered was a majority of them chose to be out there, especially in 2005 because they didn't have as lax drug laws as they do now. But a majority of them wanted to be out there because they wanted to live a life that allowed them to do their hardcore drugs all day. And he kind of
be kept down with the boot on the throat by the man.
He kind of didn't want to accept this, if you will. And so there's one cat he kind of opened up to and grown a liking for. He went as far as tracking this cat's family down, who had been looking for this gentleman for like 5 years. Told him where they're at, and at the end of the documentary, they give you a little update. Family reached out to him. He did not want to go home. He wanted to stay on the streets. And so to answer the early question, and long story short, the mayor of the small town outside of Portland I was talking about, he discovered the same thing. He said what he discovered is if you go to like the shelters, like the churches, anywhere that actually provides a physical shelter and a food line, most of the people there are the small selection of families, the single moms who lost their jobs. He found that the druggies and the schizos really didn't stay in the shelters because they didn't want the rule. They didn't like the rules. These are well-structured things. You got to be in bed at a certain time. No drug use. No out. Can't be in there wasted. There's structure to that, and these people were going there, living there, working, and saving up money so they can afford a new apartment. And then he said you had the basically the ones who lived in small camps outside. A lot of those were a group of single women who didn't have kids, but who were kind of living together to protect themselves from, because you're stronger in the group. And then like basically the ones who were living in the woods and on the sidewalk, free roaming, they just, as we were saying, they just want to do drugs all day. And so a huge part of it is mental illness and drug abuse.
Yeah, interesting segue. I met my wife's cousin. She hasn't seen him in like 20 years, and he's 55. He's a retired corrections officer out of Wisconsin. One of the things this guy likes to do is he's a serious backpacker. He'll go out and he will hike the AT, the Pacific Crest. He's looking to do the Continental Divide. And by the time he's done, or if he's in a way station, or, just kind of hanging out in civilization to get some stores, people come by and just slip him bills and money. He goes, these people don't realize I got $3,000 worth of equipment on my back. And it's interesting. And he talked about, he'd do a hitchhike, he'd get in a car and it's air conditioned, the windows are up, and all of a sudden the air condition stays on and the windows come down. And he goes, man, I am so sorry. I need to take a shower.
Yeah.
Because you get nose blind to your own funk, right?
Absolutely. And
kind of like people with lots of pets. They don't get it when they walk in their door.
And so I don't have his list because this is part of the improv part of our show where we're just talking about what's in our head. So I don't have the mayor's name. I apologize for that. But one of the things he said he discovered too was that when you go to the homeless, like the deep camps, especially in Portland, because the camp in his town had been cleaned up, so he had to spend 2 days in the one in Portland. He said that the communities down there were getting so much support from the middle class and upper middle class people, you might say, have some guilt or whatever, they just think they're helping, which, hypothetically are. He said, interestingly enough, he ate better and had access to better blankets and clothing down in the street outdoor camps than actually at the shelters, because no one gives money and food and donations to the physical shelters. They're just going down and dropping it off. He's like, and so for a lot of these people, they're eating better down there because they're getting all this free hot food and this and that. And they get to live the lifestyle in which they want to live. But sadly, it requires trashing a lot of people's property and vagrancy.
Absolutely.
And so the solution he came up with, because he was trying to come up with a solution for his town, was, okay, we're going to put an end to public camping. You can't camp in sidewalks in the city and on people's properties, but we are going to set up, state-owned, city-owned properties, where you can set up your camp. You want to live in a tent? Here, this is where you do it. Have a ball.
They probably
climb up my leg and have two.
Johns and some portable showers and all that stuff. But yeah, it's insane. Now, I will believe the housing situation being an issue is if a lot of people start getting evicted. But I won't even do it without question. First question I'll ask is, well, what did you do with all that PPP, all that money you got, that extra unemployment that you actually probably making more money. And a lot of them will end up, and I've heard horror stories from other landlords when I was one. Yeah, this guy goes to work every day, but he quit paying his rent. Never was missing because, there's certain people in the government who said, you need to, like AOC, who said you need to quit paying.
Let me ask you this, though. Was it you just got to write those months off, or was it more like, 90 days same as cash with no interest where, hey, the tenant is expected to pay this back, whether it's through, payments or whatever, or is it, just write it off completely and don't worry about it?
No, it is. You got to work the deal with your landlord.
And that's what I was kind of getting to. So people are getting this PPE money, the extra unemployment, and they just hear because they don't care. They don't do the research. It's Facebook syndrome. They just read headlines and move on. Oh, I don't have to pay my rent and they can't kick me out? Okay. Xbox, PlayStation, news closed. Xbox, PlayStation, bag of weed, news closed. And then time comes.
Rims. Got to get rims.
Oh, what do you mean? They said I didn't have to. No, they said that if you couldn't afford to pay rent, that we couldn't kick you out. You need to come to us. That's not what I. And then boom, out on your ass.
To pay, the piper will come. It's going to be harder to pay it then than it is now.
We are going to play the updated. Gordon was actually gone the day we premiered this new segment, and this is the updated list, and it's pretty self-explanatory, so here we go.
And now, this week's list of common words or phrases that are no longer acceptable in woke society.
Addict, non-white, elderly, homeless, sex change, exotic, insane, man hours, alcoholic, dead naming, misgendering, transgenderism, transgendered, trans woman, trans man, homosexual, sexual preference, sex change, mom, dad, he, she, master. And so these are words that you want to try to remove from your daily vocabulary right now. That is, if you want to have standing in our new woke society. The world's going crazy, aren't we? Oh, did I forget to unmute you? I apologize. There you are.
How do you refer to a male or a female then?
You got to ask them what the pronouns are. I think they want us to default to he or
speaking of
to
which,
they.
I've been going to the doctor, just my yearly health checkups and stuff, and I am seeing the "how do you identify" question.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, I went to T-Mobile. The guy that worked there, he had his pronouns was listed right below his name on his name tag, and again, I'm just like, why are we letting emotions run this society? Now, emotions are not a bad thing. It isn't like Vulcans where it's all logic, no emotions. But it's like it's taking the emotions of a 21-year-old male who's confused as F, and that's the marching orders on how society will be run.
Is there something wrong with us that we don't get overfixated on things such as, oh my God, why am I a mister? Why am I a he? Why am I a straight? Why am I a meat eater? Why am I a...
No, because there's more important shit to worry about.
It's just, I know, it's so funny. All this stuff only happens in
You truly don't have any problems if that's what the F you're fucking worried about. I am sorry.
I'm sure once you get out of the United States, Canada, Germany, and Great Britain, this shit goes out the window. No one. Actually, I know.
China and Russia are just laughing at us.
And I think it was actually Sweden or Norway, one of those two Nordic countries or up in that area. One of them actually created a new law preventing future use of government forcing documentation to use non-binary and non-sexual explicit. So they're saying no. They're going the opposite way. They're saying we're not putting any of this new terminology into our documentation or official government statements, which is a good thing when it comes to maintaining at the end of the day, the whole intent for it is for simplicity of documentation and logistics. At the end of the day,
I've heard a new term. So we've heard biological male, biological female, right?
Birthing people.
But now I've heard natal male, natal female, meaning that's what you were when you were in the womb. What
if I was a test tube baby? That's a term I haven't heard in a long time. I used to be thrown around as an insult in the 70s and 80s. You're a test tube baby. Remember that?
I think you're called CRISPR babies now.
Shut up, test tube baby.
You got a name test tube baby.
Shout out to Hakeem Velez. I was going through my TikTok today and I get a blue check mark following me. Like, hey, I think it's the first time
I got a legit check mark.
No, not me, but somebody following
you.
Who is Hakeem Velez? Forgive me if I'm not mispronouncing your last name. Valles. Valles? Velez?
Yes.
He is an American football tight end who played for the Blues, the Blues of the Spring League. He also played for the Cardinals and the Lions. So I have an ex-NFL player following me on TikTok now. And basically his whole thing is he's kind of going around doing what a lot of former NFL players are who experience, not maybe them so much, but people on their team, people who blew up, people who came from having literally fucking nothing to all of a sudden. He said even I think he was doing one video where he was saying at the basic pay, like league scale pay, as a rookie with no huge signing bonus, you basically go from living in a family that may make $20,000 to $40,000 a year, and at league minimum you're making $23,000 a week, or $23,000 a month. He said, "No problem."
A lot of motherfuckers losing their minds.
He said, "Well, the problem with making $23,000 a month, and you're on a 17-month contract or whatever the postseason, practice season and season it comes out to be, whether it's 17 months." He said, "The problem is when you're getting paid $23,000 a month for 17 months, you're spending $10,000 a month as chump change, and then at the end of that 17 month goes by and your contract doesn't get renewed, or you take 6 months off,
or you get injured.
When you have a $10,000 a month spending habit, that can create a whole lot of problems. Even if you're, we're not even talking about millionaire problems. We're just talking about,
Well, think about it. When people get divorces, one of the biggest things to do to get the money. Well, this is what I'm accustomed to.
The lifestyle that I have grown accustomed to.
This is the lifestyle that I've. Well, you know what? It's time to change your lifestyle.
And so he does a lot of TikToks and stuff like that. And like one of the secrets he told that he did when he was like, I don't know, I think I said he was, and you guys know I'm not a huge football fan, so this has no blowback on him, the fact that I don't know anything of his stats because I don't know anybody in football.
What he means by not a huge football
It's not an indictment on him.
Not a football fan at all.
Exactly. But he was rated the 30th best tight end in 2016 NFL draft. Okay, so he was pretty good for his stuff, but he was explaining he was sought after and he made good money. But one of the things he did, he planned for his future, and I think it was
futuristic plans.
Yep, he might go up north and buy some desert land, or go out west, buy some desert land, or maybe up north, just past Alaska.
You know nothing of this if they ask you.
But anyhow, he actually did buy land, and I forget what city it was in and which team he played for at the time. But he's explaining about something like when you bought, it had something to do, I think, when you bought a house on a first-time homeowner's loan, you actually had to live in that house for so many months a year. And so what he did is he bought a duplex because he wanted to get into the rental game. He could rent a condo, live there personally, live in these penthouses, but he wanted to set himself up in the rental game, but he wasn't making, he didn't have multi-million signing bonuses. He was making good money.
He wanted some revenue.
So he bought a duplex and he lived in the left side of it for like the first year and a half or 2 years to meet the minimum requirement for that first-time homeowner's loan. And then after he moved out, obviously he leased both sides of it, and that became his first rental property. And he slowly started buying more and more property to rent, and then commercial properties. And he kind of gives speeches, and does these TikToks on, hey, yeah, you may be a professional ball player now, but that has a very short lifespan. And so when you have access to this revenue you've never had before in your life, instead of blowing it on a bunch of houses for a bunch of different people and a bunch of cars that you're going to get rid of in 5 years.
Could buy a lot of Jordans.
Buy, a nice car for you, take care of your mom, maybe your brother and sister, but start investing in property and businesses and things like that. And so he's trying to get to the, and for people in normal day life to take that same outlook. Hey, I just got a job working at this wherever X firm making $90,000 a year. It's most money ever made. Instead of buying, a bass boat, a jet ski, a car, a truck, and all this stuff, maybe set some aside and invest in just land.
Think long term.
Yep. Just a plot of land. You can get a plot of land without a house on it out in the middle of nowhere for cheap.
Oh, believe me, I want to get a plot of land, but we got some changes happening here.
So that
plot of land may be off of the map for a little bit.
What's up, Morgan Long? What's up, John Kraft? What's up, everybody tuning in on Facebook and or YouTube? If you want to give us a call right now, 239-299-3896. That's 239-299-3896. We'd love to hear from you guys. And I have been doing so much goddamn kayaking. It's insane. I don't know if I think we talked about it a little bit, but last week, maybe not. I can't remember. As you all know, I got a kayak for myself off a friend of mine, but we recently invested into a tandem fishing kayak so that Sariana and Carrie can go out fishing with us as well. And then, obviously, Sariana's insanely just blown away about how often we're going. She's thinking, oh, this would be something we do once a month. But the fact that, there's a canal across the street, 3 streets over is a boat ramp, so Carrie and I are just getting home from work. Or on the weekends, just getting up and going because we can be in the water fishing and no time flat. It's like, well, I could sit around and watch TV for 12 hours, or I can go fishing for 3 and then come home and spend the rest of the day. For example, we went Friday night Thursday night, Friday night. Then I went Saturday morning because Carrie had the dog sit. And then we went again Saturday night. And then last night. And today, just my upper body is killing me. Even though I ate like a complete asshole this week and I still managed to lose 3 pounds from all the kayak paddling I've been doing.
Next trip to Ohio, you're going to be putting in on the Scioto River right downtown. Just hanging out.
Now, you and I talked about this last week. We did some fishing with our dad as a kid, but we really never achieved anything. We never really... We would catch the random catfish here and there.
It was kind of more of an extended nap.
Yeah. Well, and it's so crazy because we would wake up. I remember we'd wake up at the ass crack of dawn. Oh, we got to get up at 4 in the morning, boys. And we all remember this, TV. Get up 4 in the morning. We got to go fishing. Got to be quiet. Got to get out there when the sun comes up.
Oh, remember those days when we had the small runabout? We'd get up real early and we're just amped up and go out there, and then there was a problem.
Yeah, well, that thing was like from the 1950s or 60s.
Yeah,
it was like the
cool
first
little boat.
fiberglass. But as time...
No, it wasn't fiberglass. It was aluminum hull.
Aluminum hull, but it was... If you looked at it, it looked like something out of like a later
Jaws.
episode of Gilligan's Island or something.
Yeah.
It was an older
It was
model.
fun, though.
Yeah, it was
That
tiny. Had a
fun.
nice Johnson motor on it. But I was pretty young when we had that. My boating experience is more around when we had the pontoon boat when I was in high school and late middle school.
Yeah, Don liked to... he liked to spray the family with
That came later.
the
I had
Wave Runner.
we have an aunt who was kind of afraid of water, and so she'd get on the pontoon boat. When I had the wave run come by and hit the aluminum siding with the jet and make a whole bunch of ruckus. But we would get up early. We got to get up early. Got to get up early for the fish bite.
It was 6 o'clock, yeah.
And we'd head on down to Deer Creek or Elm Lake, and
Which was on the other side of town.
we'd put some Erie Dearies on the line, and we'd drop them in, and we'd do a lot of trolling, look for fish, and we'd catch the occasional catfish and occasional bass or whatever. But
Did you ever catch a walleye?
No, I don't think I ever did. Actually, I did. I did in the canal behind the condo on Lake Erie when you guys were out getting lost. But to me, growing
Striped
up,
bass.
see, every time I think about growing up, like fishing in Kentucky, whether it's Mom or down the Ohio River or lakes and ponds around Ohio, to me, I always remember just catching bluegill all the goddamn time. Bluegill and catfish.
You may not remember the cane poles.
Oh, I remember the cane poles down in Richwood. But yeah, definitely a lot of time catching bluegill.
In my day, our poles didn't even have reels on them. It was a 8-foot long bamboo.
Not bamboo. It was.
It was kind of like a bamboo.
It was kind of bamboo, but it was the Midwest.
Some reed.
Yeah, it was like some reed from like Oregon or some shit.
It had a heavy coating of lacquer. On it.
Yeah, it's basically lacquer, and it looked like a bamboo, and you just put a little string and a hook on it.
Of course, I'm looking at it thinking, man, I bet this would hurt if it hit my sibling.
I mean, there was no casting with it. It was a bobber and worm, plop it in a lake and sit. And that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Most of the fishing I remember doing growing up was with a worm or with a minnow.
Mm-hmm. On the banks of the Ohio River, even.
I did a very, very little with artificial bait, and when we did, we rarely caught anything.
They were like, yeah, well, these things are a scam. Whatever.
So, but now, I had that kayak. I went paddling around for like 2 weeks.
Before you go into that, with artificial bait, do they still have the same smell?
It depends, and I get into that too. So I said, I would talk to the people on the YouTube channel, TikTok, and I said, hey, I got this kayak. Should I start fishing on here? And people said, yeah. And so I went out and bought a cheap pole, which I've since lost in the water. You can learn all about it on the last video I put up on the YouTube channel. But I said, hey, I'm going to start fishing for bass. Now, growing up, or in my entire life until now, I can't ever remember saying I'm going to go fishing for X and go out and catch nothing but X. You always catch W, Y, Z, maybe an A and a B. You never catch
another
the X.
crappie. Yeah.
I went out fishing with nothing but worms, purple and blue whip-tailed artificial worms from Walmart, Ozark Trail brand. And I'm pulling out what I thought, with my uneducated, untrained eye, I thought were smallmouth because they're mouth that. When I think of a largemouth bass, I think of the Billy Bass style that you see, the big green one, the big eyes. And so in my first 3 videos, if you guys go on YouTube and want to make fun of me, I refer to a lot of these as smallmouth bass because they don't appear to me. I have since learned there's 9 species of bass, and most of them are largemouth, and all the ones I've been catching down here are largemouth. But over the weekend, I did catch one that looks like the big Billy Bass one, the more whatever brand that
Traditional
one is.
bass, right?
Yeah, the actual largemouth bass, the one you see on the Bass Pro Shop logo. That guy, I actually caught one of those this week and wasn't that big. And then I caught a mystery silverfish, which we've since found out. Oh, I'm sorry. And so I'm doing all this worm fishing, and I'm like, this is great. I want to fish for bass. All I'm pulling in is bass, but I wanted to change my game up. And I get on YouTube, and, well, it's June, and a lot of the larger fish are going down to the deeper water because it's cooler. So what you need is a crankbait. So I go and get some crankbait, and I'm fishing with crankbait, and I'm catching the same fish, but now I start catching the W's and the Z's and the Y's. I pull in a tilapia, which I didn't know it was until somebody looked at the photo later, which if I would have known, I could have made some fish tacos because that's
You know what
eating.
this means, right?
What's that?
You need to now get Dad out in a kayak with
Yes,
you.
I've already offered. I've caught a bluegill with my crankbait. I've caught a Mayan cichlid, which are invasive, so are the tilapia and everything else down here. But
Do you guys have any species that are not invasive at this point?
Florida bass are non-invasive, pretty much. I mean, that's basically what I'm pulling out. But the long story short, for like the last 3 weeks of fishing, I'm up to like maybe 30 fish now. And I've thrown them all back, which I
I don't
found.
think I caught that much through my childhood.
Yeah, that's why I told my cousin Johnny, who lives in Kentucky, he's out fishing all the time. He's one of these cats that keeps a fishing pole in his Jeep in case he gets, driving down the road and sees a pond. He's that into it. And so he's been giving me some advice. And I told him, I said, I've never caught this much fish in my effing life. I mean, I'm going out a minimum catching 3 to 4 a day. And I mean, they're not huge. They're about
those
foot
are rookie
long.
numbers.
Well, in one of my and I'll say there's gar all over the place down here, man. I can't get them to bite. Well, if you guys watch my first video, there's one where I thought it was a bass and it jumps off the line and I put it in slow-mo. And now that slow-mo segment is on the opening credits for all my Florida Outdoor videos. And Johnny said, hey, I looked at that video where it's slow-mo down. He's like, if you look at it when it comes out of the water, he's like, that wasn't a bass that jumped off your line. That was an alligator gar. That he said, and I went back and watched it. You can see the bill coming out of the water. So the one in my opening credits in the first video that I slowed down, that big one that jumps off, that's the closest I ever got to actually reeling in an alligator gar. And I see them down here all the time. I don't know what they like to bite on. So maybe if you guys listen and know, send us an email to info@d-410.com. But anyhow, I did a whole lot of paddling this weekend. My upper body is sore as hell, so I happily took tonight off. I'm working on some videos I got to get out. But
I would not mind getting a kayak.
It's
I've
fun.
kayaked in the late 90s. I did a lot of flatwater kayaking, and it's been a long time since. But I do live in the desert. My
on a
waterways
horse with
are
no
limited,
name.
But there are some really cool ones. There's a cool place to paddle right below the Hoover Dam in Black Rock Canyon. That's got these caves you can pull into, and one of them glows a color of sapphire.
Wow.
And then you can pull off and beach and walk up to hot springs in the Arizona side. So that'd be some really cool stuff. Of course, I'd have to get the doggo involved.
Yeah, I got a Bailey life jacket, but we've been so busy fishing that we haven't taken her out on the boat. But our intention is to get her on the boat. And we put in
Speaking of Bailey's,
real quick, we put in at this pond over on the other side, and we've gone up to 2 miles, and we found this one place we've got 3 honey holes. One we refer to as Happy Hour. I got 2 videos up in a row that Carrie and I both catch a fish at the exact same time in the exact same place, and now we call it Happy Hour. It's 2 for 1. So we have Happy Hour spot, and then we have a town this pond we've dubbed Turtle Town. And the video's not out yet. I'm working on it now, but we're fishing, and all these little turtles keep popping up all around the boat. And at a certain point, I told Carrie, I said, I feel like somebody's been feeding these things. It's like, why are they coming? I said, maybe they think my bait's a bug, but I held the bait over their head, and they showed no interest.
are these tiny turtles?
No, they're of all sizes, but they're decent. Okay. They're living in a lake that I now know is 7 feet deep, and you'll learn about that later, how I know this. But, so we go fishing around the corner, and now it's starting to get dark, and we come back, and there's a guy out on his seawall with bread. And I was like, yep, that answers my question. He's like, huh? I said, that answers my question. I said, we're out here fishing, and we got all these turtles popping up around us. And I said to my lady friend here that I kind of feel like someone's been feeding these. He's like, yeah, I got about 60 of them out here. And you can just see them all splashing. Them and the bass are all just eating this bread all along the seawall. He's out there every night with bread. I told Carrie, next time we
better than feeding pigeons.
I said, next time we come back, I'll bring some alfalfa pellets like at the zoo. But yeah, so the you can't tell at the light, but I'm getting a wicked tan. I'm starting to get some fishing shirts, but yeah, I've been spending an inordinate amount of time on the water.
I understand you had a bad day recently. I don't know if it's as bad as the day of the dog handler of that Boston who ate shit in the middle of his agility course.
What was that dog's name? Riddles or Piddles or something like that?
Boy, Bostons look funny when they jump.
For those you don't know, it's not the kennel show, but there's actually a league.
This is the Westminster, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Westminster dog equivalent of OCR. These dogs out there doing the obstacles are going through the tubes and up over.
Agility.
It's an agility contest, and it's like down to the last two, right? We're like, if this was American Ninja Warrior, these would be like the final round where they're getting the last two guys to see who's going to win. They're running for time. And so it's this little Boston Terrier, cutest little fucker, as all Boston Terriers are. Not that I'm not biased. And he's got a cute name, as Piggles or Puddles or Wriggles. And so he's out there, he's hauling ass. You know,
what would you have done if its name was Bebop?
Well,
You'd have lost your mind.
Yeah. But he's out there, he's killing it. The announcers are excited, the crowd's getting excited. And his handler's, I'd say, about 15, 20 pounds overweight, a little bit. Not like in the legs, but just you can tell he spends his time on the weekend.
He's got a tool shed going on.
He's packing away some beers when he's not running the obstacle course with the dog. Maybe he needs to start running more. So it's got the artificial turf, and he's probably got on a pair of Vans or something similar.
But he did have the tape on his legs.
He had tape on his legs, but I don't think he was wearing footwear that was conducive to artificial turf, is what I'm getting to. And so as the little Boston Terrier is running through the tunnel, he comes around and hangs a sharp turn, and his feet come out from underneath him. He kind of goes ass over tea kettle and just so happens to roll in front of the exit of the tunnel. And the Boston Terrier bounces off of him, spins around, goes off course, and then looks at him because he's concerned, and his handler just face planted on the AstroTurf. But long story short, it knocked him off his stride. He stopped running for a good 5 seconds, and time the handler got them back up to speed. This dog that has probably a 60% chance, at least a 50-50 chance of winning this whole thing, lost all his bones, all his future sponsorship because his handler tripped on the carpet and slid right into him.
He totally did a Homer Simpson.
Yeah. And
But
Perry and I are watching. It's like, that's not fair. They should let him run again.
Now, I was pulling for the Papillion. You know what the Papillions are? Those are the dogs with the big ears like butterflies. I didn't realize that's actually a spaniel. So my dog, if I hold its ears up like that, it looks a lot alike.
That's funny.
But yeah, I was pulling for that thing because it was a spaniel. I don't know if Ollie's got a little cocker spaniel he likes to hang out with. But yeah, so I hear that you had that kind of moment too. Something recent that I'm going through, which the truck goes into the shop next week.
So Gordon was talking last week about his little accident with his sun awning, not his sunsetter awning, but his pop-up awning like you see the moms use on the side of the soccer field.
I knew better.
And he planted it next to, for those of you who are K-Rock fans, it's basically a commercial grade version of the tent you see at like a radio meet and greet pop-up where they're sitting in the parking lot of a dealership or outside. And they're sitting underneath.
It's a gazebo.
So Gordon set the thing up next to his tent. And when I worked in radio and we'd set them up, we had these huge plastic things that actually fit around the feet. There's a tab on the feet, and they're full. They weren't really full of water, but they weighed about 5 pounds each, and they'd keep the thing from flying away like a bouncy castle at a bad birthday party. And so Gordon packed his down, but the wind came through, picked it up like a bouncy castle at a bad birthday party, and slammed it down right on the...
What's amazing is there was a ton of big rocks I could have tied that fucking thing to.
And slammed it down right on the top of his brand new 2021 Taco, and scratched the shit out of it and put a small dent.
He's got a digger in the shell.
Well, I got called out to a job today, and their server... Their building got hit by a lightning strike, and since then, one of their 3 servers wouldn't turn back on. And so I went over there, and I unplugged it from the UPS, plugged directly in the wall, thinking maybe because the green light's on the back of the server coming on. But long story short, couldn't get the thing to turn on. I need to take it to my shop. It weighs about 70 pounds. It's about almost 3 feet long, and 2 feet high. Very cumbersome for one person to carry, but I'm maneuvering it out, and I got about 60 yards.
Would one say that would be fit better in a bed of a truck?
Yes, but here's the reason. I got about 70 yards from the server room down the hallway out the door to my truck, and it starts raining. Now, the last thing you want to be in the rain is about a $2,500 server. And so I have the crew cab, and I've had servers in the back of my crew cab. I lift the seat up, and I just set them on the carpet and lean them up against the bed. But it's raining, so now I'm trying to get this cumbersome server through the parking lot. Luckily, it started slow, but it's getting faster and faster. And so I open my back door to my truck. I pivot around, in the bottom corner of the goddamn server, like this part right here, basically spears the A-pillar behind my door of my truck. Now, Gordon, are you on Facebook right now?
Is that the B pillar or the C pillar?
Are you on Facebook right now?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Okay, the video just came up. It'll come up in a second because we got a delay. Now, for some reason, the video's sideways. Turn your phone to the left. Well, your screen's going to rotate.
Oh, I can see where it's at.
You can see my shoes, right? So that's the way it should go. Look at that fucking dent, and that's down to the metal.
Right, so that would be your C.
If that wasn't down to the metal, I wouldn't worry about it. But with the Florida heat, I'm afraid at some point the paint's going to start flaking off.
Nothing to make you want to get a new truck or something like that.
So it's going to require some Bondo and some
welcome
paint.
to the Bondo Club. My Bondo should be no more bigger than like a dime.
Well, that is about the size. Once you sand it down a little bit and tape it off, obviously they're going to have to blend it, but the area in itself, once you put filler on it, is going to be about the circumference of a soda can. So it's going to be pretty big, and then obviously you're going to have to blend all that in. Now, sadly, even though I've never filed a claim in all my years of having insurance, at least not for myself. Well, no. The one time I got rear-ended in my own car by my own customer, their insurance took care of it. But my daughter filed a claim on my insurance, but I never have. It's a $500 deductible, so now I'm in that place where you're at. Do you pay the deductible, or do you see, okay, well, it's $700. Okay, I'll pay it out of pocket, but I don't have $700 nor $500 at this point. But long story short, now I'm at the realm of I got to get this done sooner than later because it will start rusting and that paint will start flaking. It looks like shit, but do I come up to $500 and get the deductible and have the whole thing done, or do I see, well, if it's $700, pay for it out of pocket and not worry about my insurance going up?
Well, when you set it up as a non-insurance claim first to go and get the risk scoop, and then see which way it goes. Because they said if I did insurance and mine is very small above the door, they said they would have pulled the bed off and everything, so they can blend the paint better. He goes, but your car's like 3 months old, so there's not a whole lot of fade going on. I think we could do a pretty good job with that.
Well, see, what I was thinking. Nah, I won't say that. But anyhow, so yes, and so then I had that happen. And of course, this being Florida, a minute and a half after this happened, it stopped raining. Now, it may have been it stopped raining or I traveled out of the rain zone, but yeah, it didn't need to happen. But go ahead.
You put one of those little Band-Aid stickers over it. Have you seen those?
Yeah, it just sucks. And
No, it does,
it's such an eyesore. I'm looking for a clip here I recorded before the show. Oh, I accidentally deleted it. That's what it was.
As long as Dad doesn't ding his Toyota, we'll be good.
We're gonna do it live. I accidentally deleted the clip, I think. Actually, let me see if I can open it back now. I'll just do it live. Oh, shit. No, I won't do it live. I'll just read the story. I have the story up here anyhow.
I've got whiplash now.
Well, it happens. You should be used to it by now. Did you hear that Facebook tried to buy the rights to Another Brick in the Wall so they can use it in a new Facebook advertisement? And the lead singer told him to go pound sand up his ass. He didn't care how much money they were wanting. Basically, the story came down to...
we don't need some woke company trying to push their narrative and using our music.
Roger Waters says he rejected Facebook's offer to use, quote, Another Brick in the Wall in an ad. Quote, no fucking way, Waters said in response to their big money offer.
He was gentle about it, too, wasn't
he? He did it at a press conference. I will not be a party of this bullshit, Zuckerberg. Roger Waters told the press on a recent pro-Julian Assange event. Ooh, that sounds like a good fucking time. So he's at a pro-Julian Assange event, and he pulls out a letter that he got from Facebook. He said that Facebook approached him about using the 1979 Pink Floyd classic, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2, and an upcoming advertisement for Instagram. Quote, it arrived this morning with an offer of huge money. Didn't say what the money was, Waters said. And the answer is, fuck you. No fucking way.
Yeah, you got to do that British accent, right?
I can't do it. No fucking way. I only mention that because it's insidious movement of them to take over absolutely everything, he continued. I will not be a party to this bullshit, Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook did not initially respond to Rolling Stone's request on comment. During the event, Waters read from the letter that says that came from Facebook. Quote,
They were busy fact checking Waters.
quote, we want to thank you for consideration of this project, he read. We feel that the core sentiment of this song is still prevalent and necessary to today, which speaks to how timeless your work is. Quote, and yet they want to use this to make Facebook and Instagram more powerful than it already is, he replied, so they can continue to censor all of us in this room and prevent this story about Julian Assange from getting into the general public, so the general public can go, what? No, no more. Waters ended his diatribe by bringing up the Face Mash, the pre-Facebook website that Zuckerberg created in Harvard in 2003 to compare the looks of women on campus. This incident was dramatized in the 2010 film The Social Network. How's this little prick who started this? She's pretty. We'll give her a 4 out of 5. She's ugly. We'll give her a 4 out of 5. Roger, I know you're speaking off the top of your head, but you gave the chicks the same rating for being pretty and ugly, but I digress.
Basically, you're saying he's judgmental on how chicks look.
Well, yes. How do we give him any power, Waters asked. And yet here he is, one of the most powerful idiots in the world. Waters also recently lashed out at his former Pink Floyd bandmate David Gilmour for allegedly blocking his access to the group's social media account and vetoing liner notes for the upcoming Annals box set. But yes, he's basically saying, here's a guy who wants to pretend like he's super woke. But let's be honest, people change since they were in college and high school. I mean, how many of us are glad that we're not holding for account for shit we did in high school and college? So yeah,
that's just it. I feel like the world's running the way we thought back then, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's scary. Oh, man. That's insane.
And so...
You know what? I'm now a bigger Roger Waters fan.
Yeah. It's nice to see, and I'm sure it was a pretty decent amount of money, and I'm sure even with the residuals he gets off of Pink Floyd, even though he wasn't with the band for a whole lot of time. Hopefully this isn't in your news story. Did you hear about the Massachusetts lobster diver who survives after a humpback whale tried to eat him?
I almost had it in there, but it's been so everywhere I decided not to.
Okay, well,
I've never actually read the whole article or saw the story. I just keep seeing blurbs.
I edited it down. It was like 3 pages. I'm just going to give you guys the quick one. Michael Packard was about 45 feet into the water when he, quote, I just felt this truck hit me and everything went dark, he said. A commercial lobster diver was injured when he said he was swallowed by a humpback whale off the coast of Cape Cod on Friday.
It was like Pinocchio inside the belly.
Yeah, pretty much. Michael Parker was in the whale's closed mouth for 30 to 40 seconds, he said in a Facebook post on the Princetown, Massachusetts community page.
Okay, so imagine if this was a true story, right?
Mm-hmm.
30 to 40 seconds inside a whale's mouth would seem like an effing eternity.
Absolutely.
Anybody who's ever been in a dangerous situation where things are going crazy,
yep,
time slows the hell down.
He was faced with an immediate struggle in the hard, shaking mouth of the whale as his breathing regular came out of his mouth, and he had to feel around to find it. Then seconds ticked by, and Packard thought, this is how you're going to die, in the mouth of a whale. He didn't know how he would, he didn't know if he would be swallowed or suffocate, he said. And he thought about his 12 and 16-year-old son and his wife, and he thought to himself, I was just struggling, and I knew this was a massive creature, and there was no way in hell I was about to bust my way out of there. At first, he thought he'd been eaten by a great white shark, and the fear sharks have become a fixture off the coast of Cape Cod in the summer. Then he realized they didn't have any teeth, and he said, oh my God, I've been in the mouth of a whale. Suddenly, Packer saw the light. The whale came up to the water, shook his mouth, spit him out, and he's in the hospital, but he has no broken bones, and I think there are some people calling bullshit on the story, but he's sticking to it, and he's even trying to get his co-worker involved into the story. But yeah, he has no broken bones, he's just a little banged up and bruised up, but he's claiming that he was in the mouth of a whale for about 45 seconds before being spit out like Pinocchio on the raft.
What story can I come up with that is crazier than anything that's happened in 2020?
Yeah.
Let's think back in time. Let's think maybe Moby Dick or Mouth of a whale. I think that's it.
Did you hear that the flight on the Jeff Bezos rocket went for $28 million? The one they auctioned off?
I think he's going to probably fill more seats too.
Now,
Hey, if you got that kind of money, good for you.
but isn't this for the Bezos group? We know that Tesla's boy's been sending some rockets into space, and it's been a while since he's had anything blowing up on the on the flight deck. What's Bezos' company's track record like when it comes to launching their equipment off the ground?
Blue Origins is the name of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And the rocket's actually called, believe it or not, the New Glenn.
I'm just wondering if this guy just spent $28 million. Wouldn't you want to wait until maybe they've been doing this a few times? You know who I...
One of the test flights since the year 2015, the uncrewed vessels have reached a test altitude of more than 330,000 feet, achieved top speed of more than Mach 3, reaching above the Kármán line, both space capsules. A lot of success, actually.
Okay, so he paid $28 million for 11
Have you ever
second
seen
ride.
what his rocket looks like?
Yeah, it looks like a penis. I'm looking at
It
it.
looks like I think of the whole fucking
Spaceballs.
no, not even Spaceballs. Think Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Sir, it looks like a.
Yep, it looks like a big mushroom-headed
Now, if he was
fun
smart,
rocket.
if he was smart, he'd get rights to that footage
Yeah.
and run his next commercial with it taking off, and then it's that whole shtick, that running gag, because it does. It almost looks like he wants it to look like that way. It's very phallic, but
Real quick before we get in the news, we haven't really talked about it on this podcast a lot because it's not something I do a whole hell of a lot. I actually haven't done it in about a week and a half. But every once in a while, on Friday or Saturday particularly, I don't do it. I pretty much only do it that time. I'm going to do the drunk run on Uber. I'll do the occasional Uber pickup. And the last time I drove was 2 weeks ago, and it was a Saturday, and I wasn't getting any requests. I was doing a lot of drive backs between like Cape Coral Parkway and 47th Terrace. And I don't know, I did like 4 or 5 runs. I was making no money. And so I had to go, I dropped this young couple off who were down here from Illinois. I dropped them off at this bar over off of Cape Coral Park. It was a sports bar over off Cape Coral Parkway, and they're talking about it. And like, have you ever been here? I said, no, I've never been there, but I dropped off and picked up quite a lot of people here. It appears to be a nice place, but it's basically a sports bar. I said, if you're looking for more like of a club or a pool hall or getting a bar feeling, you really need to get on to 47th Terrace, which is only about a 4.5 minute Uber ride from here. So if you guys get bored, just hop back on there and somebody will take you down there. So I pull out of the parking lot and I'm driving on, and I get a request from the same bar. And I'm thinking, oh, well, clearly they walked in here and said this isn't what we had in mind and wanted to leave. Then I turned around. I took the job and turned it around, but I noticed the name was different. Now, the way, if you guys have never taken an Uber or really never got into it, the way it works as an Uber driver, you accept the job, you pull up to the place, and you sit there for 2 minutes. As soon as you pull in, it sends them a notification that you're there, and you can even send them a text message yourself. But basically, through Uber, you sit there for free for the first 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, Uber starts billing the rider, and you get paid for the time you're sitting there. Now, once that clock gets to a total of 5 minutes, meaning the first 2 minutes are free, and then you've been paid for sitting there for 3 minutes, Uber gives you the opportunity to cancel the ride due to the rider not showing up, because time is money. You could be out accepting or driving to a new part of town and accepting your rides, or maybe you already have someone in queue, because there's a lot of times you have a rider in queue, so you picking up somebody and you have another one waiting. And so they realize time's money, so they give you the option to fail. So what I usually do is I actually wait until 8 minutes so that I get paid for 5 minutes. Now I'm there not quite 10 minutes, but 8 minutes. 8 minutes is a reasonable amount of time for someone to get a check, go pay the bill, what have you. It's also plenty of time for them to send you a text message, say, hey, it's packed in here. The waitress is supposed to bring me my card back. I'm waiting. Not a problem. So I'm sitting in front of this place for the 8 minutes. I already told the person I was there. They never communicated back to me. Now, I have no problem ending a ride if no one shows up, especially after 8 minutes in front of a bar, because I figure if I've been sitting out here for 8 minutes and you haven't communicated with me, chances are you're too goddamn drunk. I'm not going to want to deal with your ass anyhow. And so when I get to that marker, I promptly leave, and I get the few dollars for sitting there and I go about my way. And so this happened the last time I drove. Person never came out, never saw hide hair, never communicated with me, never sent me a text. Canceled the job and went home. That was it. Tuesday rolls around and I get a phone call from Uber. Actually, I get an email, but I didn't see the email. I get a voicemail from them saying they're calling me to do a follow-up interview about the incident on Saturday. And that's what I said. What incident? And so I go check my email and I see, this is Uber. We want to contact you about the incident on Saturday where you refused a ride to somebody based on discrimination. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, discrimination. I thought, what the fuck? This ought to be fun. Because when I hear discrimination, I'm thinking of the discrimination you're all thinking about right now. And I said, ooh, this ought to be fun. Can't wait. Call me up because I just so happened Friday night, the night before, I did multiple runs over in Fort Myers on what is considered the worst side of town. And so if I'm going to refuse somebody based on discrimination,
in the ghetto.
Well, basically my point being is if a Saturday I allegedly refused to give somebody a ride on base, I had an incident because I refused to give a ride based on discrimination, would I be voluntarily the night before doing multiple rides in the worst side of town? No. Okay. So I couldn't wait. I said, ooh, yeah, I got evidence. One, I've only ever turned down 3 rides, and all 3 were for the exact same thing I've explained. I've showed up, sat there, they never came out, gone about my way. I've never told anybody to the face I'm not giving them a ride. All 3 rides I've ever canceled, person never showed up. So I said, ooh, okay, I can't wait. They call me back and say, hello, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. 410. We're calling about the incident on Saturday. I said, what incident? They say, did you reject a rider on Saturday? And I said, I turned down 1 job. I said, first and foremost, let me make this perfectly clear. I've never rejected a rider to their face. I've never had an incident in my time doing this, and you can check the catalog. I've only canceled 3 rides, and all 3 were for someone not showing up after 8 minutes. What do you remember where that happened at on Saturday night? I said, yes, named the place. Hold on. Boop, 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 boop. That's the right bar. So, you didn't deny to give somebody a ride?
So, Mr. Train.
Because they have a service dog? I laughed. I said, excuse me?
Dude, if I knew they had a service dog, I would have waited
yes,
the extra 2 minutes.
The person said that you refused to give them a ride because they have a service dog. And I bellowed. Ha! He said, sir, I don't think this is a laughing issue. I said, you would if you knew my Instagram page. If you saw my Facebook profile right now. I said, not only is my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook profile a picture of me and my dog, but it's a picture of me and my dog in my car. I said, sir, I work for an IT firm who provides maintenance to 6 veterinarian clinics. I said, I currently have 2 cats, a dog, and 3 parrots. I used to have 2 dogs. I said, I love dogs. I said, matter of fact, if I knew that person had a service dog, I would have waited. And if I had my choice, I would have all my rides have dogs with them. I said, this kind of bothers me though. I said, because this shows you exactly what's wrong with our culture nowadays. I said, this person felt slighted, smited, offended, and retaliated against because I didn't give them a ride because they never showed up. They never communicated with me. And so what did they do? They're essentially trying to cancel me.
Cancel you, buddy.
As far as they know, this is how I make my living. They don't realize I do this 2 nights a week to make some quick money to go blow on fishing gear. I said, so they're actively trying. They're trying to take what they think is my income because I canceled their ride. I said they're basically making up lies. Well, sir, because it is a service dog and that is to help with health conditions and yada, civil rights and all that shit. We have to take this very, very serious, and your account will remain suspended until the result of the investigation. Because anytime someone reports you and slanders you and throws the word discrimination out there, especially when it comes to service animals and disabilities, there must be an investigation. I said, well, that's fine. I said, it's only Tuesday. I don't drive till Friday anyhow.
Yeah, good thing there's Lyft.
And I said, oh, and by the way, if you guys find issue, I'll just go drive for another company. I said, this is not my living. This is how I make some fun money.
And quite honest, most of the drivers drive for both of the major companies.
And oh, by the way, if anybody's listening to Pandora, YouTube, or anywhere else, they're dying to get YouTube Uber drivers because they're offering bonuses and all kinds of shit. And especially, I told it. So anyhow, I wasn't worried about it. Long story short, the result of the investigation 2 days later, my account is re-enabled. But, however, the caveat being, they made me say over the phone while they recorded it for prosperity. And if this is the Alice's Restaurant song, so they would have an 8x10 with X's and arrows and paragraphs and on the back of each one.
Now, is that legal in the state of Florida?
Yeah, because it's a two-party state. And they said, okay, I need you to say this, that you agree, based on law, that you cannot decline and you must give a ride to persons with service dogs. I said, yeah, I agree. It's not a problem. Never happened. But yeah, it just goes to show you, I haven't been canceled for any of the dumb shit I've said on a podcast. No one's tried to cancel me for dumb shit I've said on a TikTok. Someone tried to say me, the guy who has a Boston Terrier sleeping right here, the guy who's had beagles and rat terriers and grew up in a family with an aunt and a grandmother who used to breed and show German Shepherds at dog shows, that I refused to give a ride to a person based on the fact that they had a dog.
How come I can't see
Preponderous.
the comments?
Huh?
I can't. There's 6 comments and I don't see one of them.
No one's commented in a while. There's 2 comments in here you're probably really not interested in anyhow. But anyhow. So yeah, so that was going on. But anyhow, that has since been resolved. And now it's time for the news.
Wow.
I had to
Joining
find
us
the
now
panel.
from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, real quick, let me just talk to the audience. If you guys at home have ever wondered why I have such problem controlling everything, you know what the biggest annoying feature that came out with Windows 10 is? The
All of
Snap 2.
Oh, I hate that fucking.
So I have 4 or 5 minimized screens on here. And so at the beginning of the show, when I'm trying to turn off the splash screen and then initiate the music, I have minimize windows so I can control multiple windows. Well, heaven forbid one of those windows gets 3/4 of an inch from the corner of your goddamn screen. It automatically maximizes it so you can't control what you're doing.
Or you accidentally wiggle your mouth just a little.
Yeah, and so you're like have everything set up and it just starts maximizing shit. And so that's why a lot of times I can't get things to kick off the way I want because, well, I need a producer here in real time. Anyhow, Gordon, what do you got for the news?
Speaking of dogs and cars.
With cameras? Oh, that's a different show.
No, but this is an interesting story, and it's a bit of an odd one, and it's coming out of Spokane, Washington. But there was a dog that was, it sounds sad, it was ejected from a vehicle in an Idaho crash. But it was found. This pet dog who vanished for 2 days after being ejected from a vehicle.
Was he well?
He's very well. During an accident, was found apparently doing the job it was bred to do.
I saw the story.
It was herding sheep.
What kind of dog was it again?
Lindsay Oswald's family and their dog Tilly was driving along Idaho State 41 on Sunday when they crashed into another car, launching the dog through the rear window. Of course, see, I keep my dog on a leash, a little thing that in the seatbelt holder. So I don't want him outside of the car or hit by an airbag. The unharmed but stunned dog then ran away, prompting immediate search, with at least 6 complete strangers who witnessed the crash and pulled over to help. People just kept getting out. We were sort of exhausted.
Now,
So
keep in mind if this was a
two-year-old border collie.
keep in mind if this was a human ejected from the car, only one person would have stopped. But once people hear dog, it's a
You're lucky
goddamn
if one
full
person
alert.
was- yeah, that's because we like dogs better than people.
Yep.
So the dog is a 2-year-old border collie and red heeler mix, and there was over 3,000 people shared the post. That's when Tyler, Travis, and Zane Potter recognized the dog in the photo as the same dog they saw on their family farm south of Rathdrum on Tuesday. Both Potter and Oswald thinks Tilly was drawn to the farm and their sheep. I think the dog was trying to herd. Oswald said they weren't for the post. He'd still be out there doing whatever it is border collies do.
Absolutely. I love dogs.
Ohio. Cicadas. Cars. Keep your windows up. The cicada invasion was responsible for a Monday crash in Ohio, according to Cincinnati police. Let's say that right, Cincinnati. The cicada threw Let's try that again, Gordon. The cicada flew through an open car window, striking the driver in the face and causing a single-car crash in the Cincinnati East End neighborhood, according to police.
How old was this fella again?
They don't really say.
I'm going to say
Driver-
24.
Driver suffered from minor injuries, but the vehicle sustained heavy damage, according to CBS.
If this cat was 40 or older, this would have been nothing. If you're 40, you've been driving down the street back in the day when you had cars that didn't have AC because, well, premium cars had AC and budget models didn't. You've had cherries from cigarettes or other flammable materials fly in your face. You're shifting your 5-speed. You're driving. You're going through your tape deck, and or CD holder, finding music to play while you're putting it in there, while you're drinking and shifting and all that crap. We can multitask and drive back in the day. Nowadays, you got cars with automatic brake sensor, blind spot sensors, cruise controls that automatically adjust your speed, and people can't even text and drive. We're doing all these different
clowning
things.
D-Train for driving and filming.
Yeah, on a
With
tripod.
a camera that he doesn't even have in his hand.
On a tripod. It's like, you realize me, you know what's more dangerous than me driving while talking to a camera on a tripod? You ever sat in the back seat of your friends, parents, or maybe a guidance counselor growing up, and you had the driver that was an eye contact talker? Who needs to make eye contact when they're talking, or the mother who has to look in the rearview mirror while they're yelling at their kid or looking over their shoulder. That's far more dangerous than
Driving
me.
to Indiana and D-Train's in the back of a minivan behind the rear seat in the trunk
Facing
space.
the back way.
Oh boy, if you're a rear-ended, you're done.
DEW dead.
Speaking
But now
of
this
accidents,
guy's killed himself because a cicada hit me in the eyeball.
he must have
Pussy.
reacted. I think that his reaction must have been a lot like Johnny Depp's Hunter S. Thompson character in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas when the bats were coming down.
When the mescaline was kicking in.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Don't go
Speaking
that
of
way.
accidents,
That's cicada country.
we did have a fatal accident in Las Vegas. Aww. It was a Lamborghini. He hit a moped and a 45-mile-an-hour drive. How fast do you assume the Lambo was doing?
I don't know. I couldn't pass those I never made it that far in tests where the train was leaving New York and the guy on the
It's
rickshaw
not a
was
math.
leaving.
It's a Lambo, 45-mile-an-hour speed limit zone, hits a moped.
Which direction was the moped traveling? Did he hit it from behind?
Same direction.
Well, see, that's the bad part, because if he was coming at him, the guy could have popped a wheelie and just ramped over that Lamborghini like a badass kicker ramp. But sadly, going that direction, I'm gonna. What was the question? How fast did he travel over the hood of the car?
No, how fast do you think the Lambo was when he flattened the moped driver?
Lambo drivers are douchebags. 93 and a 45.
The arrest report has been released for a Texas man who was driving a 2017 Lamborghini Hurricane, which is a SUV, by the way.
An SUV.
It struck and killed a moped driver on June 5th near Russell and Rogers Street. And the gentleman driving was a 33-year-old Andrew Rodriguez, traveling at least 141 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour speed zone.
And the news interviewed local man who said, "I just don't get it. I got 3 of them slow for kids at play sign. This is just unnecessary."
Of course, me being the asshole I did, I was looking at this article over the weekend, looked at my wife, and said, "I bet you he never became a champion." Now the question is, Gordon, what does that mean? Well, back before they required mopeds to be licensed here, you'd see these people buzzing around on these mopeds that had VIP, and below the VIP it said future champion.
We had those down here too. You know, I'm seeing the younger cats right now.
I have rolled down the window more than once and said, "Hey, you're 53 years old. I don't think you're going to make it to champion."
Yeah, that's because he lost his car on the fucking roulette table, and that's the only thing he can afford. I'm seeing the younger cats down here. They're not exactly pocket rockets. They're in between a moped and a pocket rocket. I'm seeing them driving street legal mini bikes now on the roads.
Are you talking about the Groms?
I don't know. They look like
They got like 125s in them, the Honda Groms?
Yeah, they're like little. They're not.
Actually, sweet. We had a gang of like 20 Groms running up and down the street. It's not as bad as the gangsters who decided when Vegas reopened to rent a bunch of electric scooters and cause problems. That almost sounds like something out of Jackass.
Yep.
But there was a female passenger. Her name was Sabrina Younger. That's German. Texas. Makes sense. said they were out joyriding and headed to a party. She admitted to the police officers that they were driving like 140 plus. But it hit that moped, and even an SUV Lambo sits low to the ground. It hit that thing so hard that the driver and the bike ended up under
Now,
the Lambo.
you live in an area that rents Lamborghinis, and they
Aye.
do in Miami. Do you think this was this? Do you think it's
100%
rental? This wasn't a no.
100% rental.
Yep.
And now we're going to go to Florida.
Yeah, we are.
So I did something stupid. Don has done something stupid. And evidently, the Florida town of Brooksville has done something stupid.
Yeah, they got rid of the Brooksville Raid, which was the Civil War reenactment that had been going on for the last
Oh, no, this is
55 years,
worse.
and so they got rid of it because they don't want to be offensive with the rebel flag.
According to the AP, the headline reads this: a small town in Florida accidentally sells its water tower in a blundered real estate transaction.
Fucking awesome. Good job, Brooksville, you dumbasses.
A businessman purchased a municipal building underneath the city of Brooksville's water tower last April for a whopping $55K.
But they didn't know that the water tower was on the deed.
Let's get there. With the goal of converting this nice property into a gym. Oh my God, he's got a ton of water now for the gym. However, when Bobby Reed went to the county to get the address for his new business location, he was told the parcel he had bought included the entire water tower site, according to the Tampa Bay Times.
Dude, you know how much pre-workout we can put into that water tower? That's going to be sweet.
You should throw in some No Explode. But what's really cool is he was willing to give it back. So county records showed that he transferred the water tower back to Brooksfield through a warranty deed last month. The town of 8,500 residents located 50 miles north of Tampa.
Why wouldn't he just say, here's what we'll do. Here's the total capacity of the water tower. I'm not looking to get rich. I'll lease you the water for $1,000 a year. Just something. But no, actually, he probably realized they'd probably just gouge the shit out of him in state taxes.
They'll get it back in his water bill.
Yeah.
I don't know where the blame falls, according to Blake Bell, a city council member. We're council members, and we rely on the city manager. So now the finger pointing's beginning, right? We assume that he has done his due diligence.
Fishing for gators. I don't know what the hell's going on. I've only been on the board for 43 years. See you at church on Sunday.
Now, according to the city manager, Mark Kootenai, he blames the use of bad legal description for what happened. The city's redevelopment agency director had been now reassigned after the accidental sale.
Say.
We're human, according to Kootenai. Sometimes we make a mistake.
Sometimes you mess
I
up.
really want you
Sometimes
running
sell
my
the
effing town.
Sometimes you sell the city's source of water in Florida.
And last but not least, we all know who Floyd Mayweather is.
Yep. The guy who ripped off
Evidently, there was a
people by-
disgruntled person out there, or persons.
Yeah, because he held up Logan Paul and knocked him out and people lost money.
Well, Floyd Mayweather is now offering $100K of that money as a reward to say one of his Vegas homes was burglarized. Boxing legend Floyd Mayweather took to Instagram Saturday morning offering $100K reward after he says his home was burglarized. And according to him, on his text, it says one's home is their sanctuary, place of peace, relaxation, and comfort.
The location
And
of which
someone
people shit.
violates that sanctuary, it is disturbing and hurtful. And coming from a guy who's had his house broken into, I get it. One of my homes was burglarized in Vegas, which begs the question, how many homes you got here, bud? They stole many valuable handbags and other belongings of substantial value. I am offering at least $100K reward for the information that leads to the return of my belongings. The level of disrespect and greed it takes for someone to do this is unfathomable.
By any chance did this happen anywhere around the time of the boxing match?
It happened within the last week.
Because I remember down here in Miami a few years ago, there's a couple of football players or musicians. I can't remember which, maybe both. But long story short, whenever the occupant of the resident was participating in a live event, so basically the burglar said, okay, he's not home, he's on TV. They would go break into these people's houses when they knew the chances are...
Same shit happens out here.
Yep.
It's insane. But that being said, I try to keep it light tonight. that is the news of the week. I'm done.
Now I'm looking.
Oh,
for
wait.
someone. Oh.
Wait, one more news story. Vegas Golden Knights now lead the Montreal Canadiens 3-1. At the end of the second period, 3 minutes 40 seconds to go.
This concludes the evening news, and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
Before we wrap up this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast, which, by the way, this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast is brought to you by our friends at Act Computers. Act Computers has been providing IT solutions for all Southwest Florida since 2004 and the rest of the world since, 2010. Even if you don't live in Southwest Florida, they can help you by logging into your computer via their website with your permission, of course. And so as long as you have internet and you need some help with your computer or computer problems, give them a call at 239-283-1120 or leave them a message on their Facebook page if it's not a super emergency. Or if you live here in town, give them a call at 239-283-1120. They can help you with a computer break fix, camera installations, network expansions, and all that good stuff. Give them a call, 239-283-1120. And on that note, Gordon and I were talking. We'll try to make this quick. How amazed we are by the amount of rear parking lot accidents in the day and age of backup cameras. Prior to my Tundra, I had a 2018 Toyota Tacoma base model with a backup camera. I used to drive down to the First Street Publix in downtown Fort Myers, the Rivet District, to go running. And someone who worked at that Publix had the same exact truck that I had, minus the kick-ass rims, and the entire back end was crushed up from where 2 nights before when I was parking down there, they had backed the truck up into the lamppost. How are people still backing into shit with blind spot cameras and backup cameras on base model vehicles?
And sensors. That's 6 opportunities. You got 1 mirror, 2 mirror, 3 mirrors, your shoulder, there's 2, 3, 4. You get your backup camera, there's 5, and 6 is a sensor. We've gone, clearly because we can't multitask when we drive anymore.
I was backing into a spot and the old man in my building was doing this. I rolled on the window. You can move.
I don't need a come-on back engineer.
I got a camera, fella. Oh, dude. But yeah, it's just amazing.
I appreciate it.
I used to drive my...
Well, there's a come-on back engineer just looking for something to do.
I used to, every once in a while when I worked at K-Rock, I would forget something. And so I would drive my Tacoma backwards down Stan Haney Boulevard like at 15 miles an hour using that camera like a fucking Abrams tank.
Love the Tacoma, but wish they would improve the resolution on that camera.
They just... No, because they want to entice you to use your mirrors. That's all. We gotta look at it that way. But yeah, it's just dumbfounding how many people are still crashing their shit with backup cameras. I drive down El Prado every day, and literally 2 to 3 times a day there's an accident. And it's usually between veterans and somewhere in front of the fucking hospital, which I guess is convenient so you can just roll across the street and you're in the emergency room, but it's just dumbfounding.
I don't need an ambulance. I'll go. I'll go right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right here.
Oh, shout out to the fine fucks at, I don't care, they got 4 days left of school, of Diplomat Middle School. This is the same school that I got a notice saying that my daughter didn't show up for class. And then when I went to look into it, I was told she's there. The substitute teacher accidentally marked her absent, but don't worry because this happens all the time.
This episode is brought to you by Fine Fucks Educational Center.
Yes, and we here at the Fine Fucks Educational Center, my daughter rides a bike to school. It's not far away. But apparently the riders at this school and the walkers at the school would mill about the parking lot, dick around in this parent pickup line too much, and there was an incident of what level, I don't know, but to the level that which now they hold the walkers and the riders until the parent pickup line's cleared out. And so now she doesn't get home till 4:30. She's going home like 4:05. Well, she had a Zoom meeting with a doctor today at 4 o'clock. So this was problemsome because she don't get home till 4:30. So I drove over to the school.
Now this is into the parent pickup line, right?
No, I got there at 3:41.
Okay.
And the parent pickup queue was all full, but I was going to go to the parking lot because I had to get her bike out of storage. And I had to go to the door and show my ID and all that shit to get my kid out of minimum security prison, because that's what it is. And so I pulled up, and you got the authoritarian there in his golf cart. I said, "Can I pull in there?" It's a facility
Tell
parking.
Barney to put the bullet back in his shirt pocket.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know, you're supposed to pick your kid up by 3:30, but it's 3:41. So just this one time. Next time, I said there will be no next time. There's 3 days left in school. I just need to get my kid to the doctor. So he beep, beep, backed up his golf cart. I pull up, walk
Bet you
to
wanted to flip that son of a bitch over.
the door of the principal's, the reception area, and realized that not only did I forget my mask, but I forgot my wallet, so I can't produce my ID. So I had to walk
You didn't
back
leave
to my
something
car.
on you on accident too, did you?
No, I leave that under the seat. So I walked back to my car and got my ID and my mask and walked back, and now it's 3:46. Bing dong. Hold my ID.
Yes, thank you for coming to Diplomat Middle School. Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm here to pick up my daughter. She has a doctor's appointment at 4 o'clock. I need to get her out early.
Sorry, sir, we can't do that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's 3:46. District policy is that you must pick up children before 3:30. After 3:30, we will not allow you to pick them up.
I said it's 4 days left of school. My daughter has to see a doctor. Thanks so much for being cooperative.
Sorry, sir, it's policy.
So I had to come home and basically sit in the meeting with her doctor for a half hour, waiting, trying to keep them online. Because as you learned, it's so easy and convenient to get a fucking doctor's appointment, even on Zoom. And so we basically stalled for 30 minutes until she rode home on the bike in 95-degree weather, sweating her ass off in her school uniform. Okay, let me talk to the doctor now. It's like, fucking come on. I'm here. It's 3:46. I have ID. Yes, I've made a scene here once before, but still.
You're about to make another one.
Give me my fucking kid. No, it's a minimum security prison. The policy states that you cannot have your child past 3:30. So on top of denting my fucking car and dealing with that and seeing a cute puppy. Hi, Oliver.
He's gotten a lot bigger since you last seen him.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's usually staring at my dog. But anyhow, that's my last complaint. We're going to wrap it up for this episode. Please head over to d-410.com and click on the Patreon link. Sign up. Gordon, we need to get another OG5 Patreon up there.
Yes, we do.
And I got thinking, for you Patreon members, I think I'm going to take all my bloopers from my fishing videos that I edit out of my normal videos and put them up there for you guys to have some exclusive content. But go over to youtube.com. Please subscribe. We're up to 450. I've been getting a lot more subscribers since I started putting up the fishing content. But don't worry, our other content will be up there as well. But thank you guys so much. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. And we will talk to you all next Monday. And I'm working on getting another guest. We may have a person from another podcast in here. Trying to get some more guests in here and all that good stuff. But thank you guys so much. It's been a good time, and I'm getting tired, and I will talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.